Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. I am Rosalie Rush, Senior Associate Vice President for Communications and Public Affairs, and I'll be facilitating today's discussion. Joining us today to provide updates and answer questions is President Junn and members of her cabinet. Throughout this live session, we invite you to ask a question by clicking on the Q&A chat bubble icon in the bottom right corner of your screen and enter your text. It is my pleasure to invite President Junn to introduce her cabinet and provide opening remarks. President Junn.
There we go, unmute. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us. I know that we had over 225 or 30 folks sign on to be part of this town hall. So welcome, everyone, and it is being recorded. So those of you who want to be able to watch it later, you can have access to us via the website. So good afternoon, and welcome, everyone, to today's Fall 2020 Town Hall meeting. And I sincerely hope that you, your loved ones, and your friends have all remained safe and healthy, and their semester is actually going well and going strong. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge that Stanislaus State is located on the traditional lands of the Yokut Nation, also recognized as the Totomni land. Our campus is built on the unceded ancestral lands of these indigenous tribes. So thank you for allowing us to honor them and give our gratitude to their ancestors and their descendants for their constant and careful stewardship of this land. So please join me in recognizing the members of my cabinet. So each of the members, when I call your name, please wave so people can see you. I know it's hard to see sometimes on these Zoom screens, but let's start first with Dr. Kimberly Greer, Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs. So please wave, Kim. Then we have Ms. Christine James, Vice President for Business and Finance. Then Dr. Christine Erickson, Vice President for Student Affairs. Dr. Michelle Lottie, Vice President for University Advancement. Dr. Gitanjali Kaul, Vice President for Strategic Planning, Enrollment Management, and Innovation. Ms. Julie Johnson, Senior Associate Vice President for Human Resources, Equal Opportunity, and Compliance. Dr. Rosalie Rush, Senior Associate Vice President for Communications, Marketing, and Media Relations. Ms. Naisha Rhodes, Director for Presidential Initiatives. Ms. Nina Palomino, Special Assistant to the President. And Ms. Christina Stratman, General Counsel from the Chancellor's Office. So thank you. Before we dive right into today's question and answer session, I'd like to start with a few brief announcements. So my first announcement is one of deep, heartfelt gratitude. I just want to begin by expressing my really sincere, profound thanks and truly my unending admiration to each and every one of you who have found ways to continue to be flexible and adaptable to the many unexpected and often difficult challenges that the pandemic has posed to all of us. So if you're a student, would you raise your hand? And for those of you who can unmute your microphones, please, let's applaud all of our students. We have a number of students joining us today, so applause. Yay. Next, if you're a faculty, please raise your hand and say hello to everyone, and applause for our wonderful faculty. Applause. Now, how many staff? There's quite a few staff that have signed on for today, so raise your hand if you're a staff member. And those of us who can, please applause for all of our staff. And then there are plenty of administrators also joining us today. So raise your hand if you're an administrator. And again, applause, please. So thank you. Clearly, COVID has catapulted all of us into this whole new existence, a new way of life. And I want to express my strong gratitude to all of you who, again, found ways to cope using your creativity, dignity, perseverance, and a positive outlook that continues to make our university stable, functioning well, and keep sacred the core of what it means to be a warrior family together. So thank you, everyone. Second announcement, as a reminder, the CDC and in fact the Chancellor's Office has urged all of the presidents, so all of us have gone out and done what we normally do, and that is to get your flu shot. So I hope all of you are going to continue this tradition and go out and get your regular annual flu shot. Very important now, as the flu season is going to be upon us as the weather gets cooler. So I'm strongly encouraging every one of you, all employees and students, if you haven't already done so, go out and make sure to get your regular flu shot as soon as possible. And so we have to listen to our public health officials and to the CSU and get your flu shot. Please protect yourself and your family and do this as soon as you can. Third announcement, as you all know, tomorrow is Election Day, and in California, all the registered voters will receive a vote by mail ballot. If you've not already turned in your ballot, I urge you to do so before the polls close tomorrow at 8 p.m. And we actually have a voter drop-off box on our campus near the reflection pond at the front of campus on Monte Vista. So as you know, voting is one of the cornerstones of our democracy, and this provides us an opportunity to make your voice heard. So this is very important for all the voters to drive, walk, or ride your bicycles or to your mailbox to get your signed ballot sealed and submitted. So remember, your vote matters and every vote counts. Fourth announcement is between COVID-19, the catastrophic wildfires nearby, the poor air quality that we've suffered, the election and the national reckoning that we've had over racial and social injustice, this has been a time that's been emotionally charged and a very difficult year. So on the eve of this year's elections, many people are feeling anxious and uncertain. And so regardless of the election outcome, resources are available for our students, our faculty and staff members. So just as an example, tomorrow, Psychological Counseling Services will host a virtual coffee with a counselor virtual event from 11 to noon, and that event is open to all students, faculty, and staff. On Friday, the Warrior Cross Cultural Center and the Black Student Union will be sponsoring a virtual open mic event for collective expression and healing. And on November 10th, the Cross Cultural Center, the Warrior Center, will also host a post-election reflection and panel discussion that also includes counselors from our Psychological Counseling Services office. So you can find out more information about these events and the websites. So please know these resources are available to you, and don't hesitate to reach out if you need support, because that's what we do here at Stan State. Fifth and final announcement is that I wanted to give special kudos for CSU Chancellor Select, Dr. Joseph Castro, who's been appointed as Chancellor of the CSU, taking over from wonderful Tim White in January. So over the past 4 years, I've had the pleasure of working with Dr. Castro in his role at Fresno State, and I've witnessed firsthand his strong advocacy and championing of education for transformational change. And as a California and Central Valley native, a first-generation college graduate, and the first Mexican American to be appointed to this role, Dr. Castro truly understands firsthand the unique challenges that many of our students face, and I look forward to working with them in this new role. So now we want it to be plenty of time for everyone to ask questions, and some of you have turned in questions already via email. But before we get on, I want to briefly address some of the common questions that we're getting most frequently, and then we'll open up for individual questions as well. So to start us off, many questions have been coming forward about the spring 2021 classes. So I want to remind everyone that the CSU campuses will continue remote learning as set forth by the Chancellor's Office and our Board of Trustees for the academic term beginning in January 2021. Now, this decision continues to put health and safety of our campus community members first, while at the same time focusing on delivering a high-quality education to students so they can make timely progress towards completing their degree. So I want to thank each and every one of you for all you've done, the transition to distance learning and remote operations. You continue to go above and beyond, and your hard work and sacrifices are truly appreciated. So let me have Provost Greer talk a little bit more about which classes we have received permission to still offer face-to-face. So Kim, would you like to speak a little bit about that?
Thanks, Ellen. Thanks very much. Thank you, everyone, for being here. It's it's quite timely that we're having this conversation today at the town hall, because just this morning we submitted our spring plan to the chancellor's office. Shortly after we learned that we were going to be working virtually and instruction was going to be primarily virtual in the spring, we started working with faculty and put out a call to faculty who would be interested in putting forward a proposal for a face-to-face or in-person course in the spring. After we received those courses and the paperwork and risk assessments that go along with them, then the deans, the faculty members, department chairs, our colleagues in facilities, safety and risk management, and enrollment services all began a dialogue working on those proposals, because as President Junn mentioned, we have to take a lot of things into consideration around safety and wellness. We have to think about social distancing and how many students can be in a space. We have to think about what kind of protective equipment might they need. Faculty have to think about how they offer alternative educational opportunities for students who aren't able to attend a face-to-face class. And then lastly, faculty have to be able to pivot quickly back to virtual if that's needed, as happened this fall when we were just beginning the fall semester. And as Ellen noted, the air quality caused us to have to close some buildings. And so some faculty did have to pivot quickly back to virtual instruction. This fall, we have 55 sections, not courses, but 55 sections being taught in some type of face-to-face or hybrid methodology. For the spring, we will have 71 sections. So we've had an increase of 16 sections. We also have some different courses. We have many that were courses that were taught face-to-face in the fall, also be approved for the spring. But we did have a couple of programs, for example, biology, chemistry, and geology, who submitted a course to be taught in face-to-face in the spring. So as I mentioned to you, that plan also not only included the face-to-face courses that we would be having in the spring, but it also included updates on dining services, athletics, and residential life. We are in the process right now of notifying the faculty who are teaching these courses and other stakeholders, enrollment services, so that students can be advised that these courses that up until now have been listed as virtual on the course schedule will in fact be face-to-face. I just end with a moment of gratitude for everyone who's been involved in this process. It really does involve cross-divisional teamwork to make arrangements for the face-to-face courses. So thanks to everyone who's been involved in the process. Thank you, President Junn.
Thank you. And we can take questions about each of these afterwards. Let's go through them first and then see where we are. So the next question is that we've been getting is, what about student enrollment? People have been worried across the nation. Most universities are suffering declines in their overall student enrollment. And so we have some good news, and the person who's going to present that is Vice President Gitanjali Kaul. So Gitanjali, can you please unmute and tell us the good news about our student enrollment?
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I brought the key nuggets of information and put them on my Zoom screen. So let's talk about it. If I can get my head out of the way. Total number of students, 10,743. And guess what? It's 1% over last year. That's about 1.2% over last year. The total FTES, which I don't have on that Zoom shot, is about 1.6% over where we were last year. So that was all good news. What we lost in our enrollment pattern this time was first-time freshman enrollment. That is down 329 students from last year, and that's a decline of 21%. So that was where we saw a significant shift. First-time transfer students were about the same. We lost about 27 transfer students, which was a loss of about 2%. And then continuing undergraduates, I love to end on that high note. We were 8% higher. And as you can see and think about what that means for the campus community, having more continuing students come back to campus means that we have the ability to have students with higher retention and graduation rates in the years to come. So I'm really excited about that. So that's all that I have today.
Thank you, Gitanjali. Next is a lot of questions have been coming forward about commencement. When is it, and what are we going to do about commencement for this year? Because as you know, we put a hold on commencement face-to-face from the last year's 2020 commencement ceremonies. And I wanted to let you know that we do have a commencement committee that has students and faculty and staff being sponsored through Student Affairs. And I will just turn it over to Vice President Christine Erickson, but also to let you know that I have made the promise that our students want to have a face-to-face, so we will have that for sure as two separate commencements. But Christine is going to give you a little more detail. So Vice President Christine Erickson, you unmute.
Thank you, Ellen. As Ellen mentioned, there is a commencement committee and students are usually the most interested in the answers to this question. So you're represented on that committee through ASI. Currently, we're doing some student surveys and faculty surveys to be able to see what is most important to folks. At this point, as you all know, we do not know when it will be safe to convene in person. And so we are looking at what the capacities could be of the amphitheater, of the Snyder Hall, the arena, and other places. If we were able to have a celebration that was socially distanced, we're looking at limited guests potentially, in person with graduates only. There's a million and one different ways that that could happen. And so that's why we're doing a survey to see what's most important to you. A quick update about class of 2020 though, and that is that we are in the process of mailing your diploma cases out to you. You should be receiving that in the next week or two. And also we're sending out round 2 of the honor cords. And those are for students whose recognition status changed after spring grades were posted, or they became eligible for honor cords after the grades were posted. The most up-to-date place to look for information about commencement is on the commencement website, and that's just at www.csustan.edu/commencement. Thanks.
Thank you, Christine. Okay, so one other thing I wanted to say a special thank you is to everyone who's contributed to our basic needs initiatives and our basic needs campus cares funding. And so speaking in support of the Warrior family, giving to each other to help our students who are in need is deeply appreciated. And so these programs serve as a critical lifeline for our students, especially during this pandemic. And so if you're able, please consider supporting this vital program, both for basic needs and food insecurity, housing insecurity, emergency funding for our students. Those rates have been, requests for help have increased, obviously, because of the pandemic. And it's especially striking on our campus that our warriors continue to support each other. And Michelle, you would like to say a few words about our campus care funding? Vice President Michelle Lottie.
Well, no, thank you, Ellen. Just a big thank you to everyone who supported this fund, and especially
CFA.
to California Faculty Association for starting it with their endowment. And then just recently receiving a gift from them, and so many others. You'll be hearing more about warriors taking care of each other, but just really a thank you to everyone who supported this important initiative. We're almost at approaching $400,000 raised since the fund was started.
So it's a substantial achievement for our campus. And again, we appreciate all your support because it's making a huge difference in the lives of our students. Okay, the final thing I wanted to mention is the diversity, equity, inclusion, and social justice plans that the campus is moving forward on. Obviously, PCDI continues to meet. That's our President's Commission for Diversity and Inclusion. It's meeting on Wednesday this week in a couple days. And at that meeting, I plan to introduce the most most recent version, the edited version. I think I'm now in version 14 now, because I've had lots of feedback from faculty, from staff and students. So I'm going to do another revision tonight, probably another one tomorrow. We keep getting more feedback, and I'd like to introduce it on Wednesday. So come on Wednesday if you're able, because then you can hear each vice president has been taking turns to explain what they're doing in their divisions to help advance social justice and equity on campus within their divisions. And the paper that I'm sending out will give you a sense of sort of the systems approach that we're taking as a campus, from the top down from the cabinet, as well as bottom up from our PCDI, where there's 37 different people all across campus, faculty, staff, students, and others who are participating. And thought I would give you kind of a sneak preview. Let me see if I can share my screen. So we are instituting, here we go, share screen. Oh, let's see, can you disable the share feature so I can, is it Nina or Narrath or someone, Rosalie, so I can share?
Yep, you can share now, go ahead.
Okay, there we go. So here's a cool thing, is I don't know if you can see, we're creating probably the first ever diversity and equity data portal. So this is going to be in the paper, and we'll explain this on Wednesday. But so the SPEMI division with Vice President Call has created this one-stop shopping portal that'll be under institutional effectiveness and analytics that will give you a snapshot, and you can see all the diversity and equity data, everything from students, enrollment. You can see here book of trends, retention rates. We have student outcomes. We have all the different accolades that we're getting, best college for Hispanic students, et cetera, et cetera. So that's just an example of how we're going to be able to make this data available and track, and anybody can come in and take a look, and you can use this to write grants or write papers, et cetera. So it'll be a really wonderful addition to the other things that each cabinet member is doing. So pay attention to your emails and watch for more news from PCDI. So thank you for that. Okay, so those were the most frequent kinds of questions. Why don't we now open it up to questions from the floor? And Rosalie, you have questions that came in by email, so why don't you go ahead and facilitate?
Thank you, President Junn. The first question is for Christine James, Vice President for Business and Finance. The question is, will computer labs or study spaces be open for spring semester?
So unfortunately, computers and labs will not be open for spring as of now, because the county is still, even though we've moved from purple to the red zone, we're right on the cusp, as you know, between going back into purple or perhaps staying in red. So as long as we're in these categories, the county is not allowing additional kinds of openings. And as a campus, we have to adhere to the governor's restrictions for higher ed. So for that reason, I'm sad to say that we're not able to. Now, should things improve, then obviously we can work with our Department of Education and the Chancellor's Office to find alternatives. But for now, we need to stay safe. But thank you for the question.
Okay, the next question, still for Vice President Christine James. I am a freshman. How do I get my student ID?
Thank you, Rosalie. So to get your new ID for new and returning students, they can send an email to questions@library.csustan.edu. I'll put this in the chat for everyone. And make sure that when you're sending that message that you put in the subject that you are looking to get your Warrior ID card, and they will give you specific instructions on how to make that happen.
Thank you, CJ. I'm going to take a question from our Q&A before I go on to more of the questions emailed. The first question, I believe, is for Julie Johnson, our Senior Associate Vice President for Human Resources. When will staff start repopulating the campus?
Hi, good afternoon. Well, I will start off the conversation, but both President Junn and Vice President Christine James have a portion of that analysis as well. So really most of our decisions related to repopulation will be guided by the information we're getting from public health and the CSU, the Chancellor's Office, and working closely with safety and risk management, which is under Christine James. I don't know if you have anything to add, Christine.
Thank you, Julie. Yes, Julie is exactly right. We have to be very careful and be thoughtful about the health and safety of everyone that's coming to campus. And at this time, the public health and the rules that they have put forth do not allow us to repopulate campus. So we'll be watching at that very closely. We will obviously be working to make sure that those that are on campus, those employees that are on site, essential workers are safe. But at this time, we'll not be repopulating the campus.
Thank you. Question for Vice President Gitanjali Kaur. How do our current enrollment numbers compare to our targets? In other words, do we continue to be over-enrolled? And if so, by what percentage?
Yes, we do continue to be over-enrolled by a high percentage. We are about 14% over-enrolled from our target. And that is something that needs serious attention, and the campus community is working to address it. So these being over-enrolled has implications for our retention and graduation, for the quality that we can offer, for the services we can offer. And this is a complicated issue that requires a lot of thought. I just want to reassure everybody that there is a group of us on campus that are part of a committee focused on determining the right size for the institution. We want to provide access. We want our communities in our region, especially in our 6-county region, to know that we will be able to take in students if they qualify for CSU admission standards. But at the same time, we have a need to balance it out. So I understand the question, and I look forward to working with you on finding a good answer.
Thank you, Gitanjali. Might I also add is that at the presidential level and working with the CEO, I've had multiple conversations about the issue of enrollment management and how the system office might consider fund distribution, FTES target setting, and so on as we move into the new academic year. As you know, the Board of Trustees will be meeting this month in 2 weeks in November to present a budget to the legislature and to the governor. And then from there, the governor will make a decision on an initial budget forecast in January. And then again, there's a May revise. So there's a set process that the system undergoes working with the state, and that the Chancellor's Office will be very involved in trying to make those determinations as well. So we've been very active in making sure that we have voice at that table and to ensure, good quality access for our students. So it's a good question, and we're watching it very carefully. Have been watching it very carefully for the last several years and tracking all these numbers. So good, thank you. And if you want to find out more, you could find out from what's called the EMC. It stands for the Enrollment Management Committee. It's a pretty large committee, about 25, 26 individuals all across the campus, including faculty, students, staff, administrators, and that's where a lot of this discussion is happening there. So thank you.
Thank you. The next question is for Provost Greer. From your perspective, how would you describe the health of shared governance on our campus?
Thank you. It's a topic that I've had an opportunity to think about quite a lot, especially since COVID hit. I think the most important response to that question is how faculty and staff feel about the health of shared governance on our campus. But I would say to you that there is a deep core value and core commitment to healthy shared governance. And we've had opportunities, especially lately, to have some important conversations with the Faculty Affairs Committee and others about what all of our expectations are about shared governance. For example, at Stan State, our expectations and our values are about collaboration much more than simple consultation. And we've had opportunities, I think, some examples of which I'm proud of since we began trying to adjust to COVID and all that means. A couple of examples is the joint statement that was written by the deans and I and the AVP of Faculty Affairs with the University RPT Committee. And that joint statement has now turned into a resolution that was passed and by the Senate and signed by President Junn. We've also recently collaborated with the Faculty Affairs Committee and URPT Committee around a letter to faculty related to RPT evaluations in the spring. Those are just a couple of examples, but I think the important piece is that we continue to talk to each other about our expectations and how we can continue to assure that the health and expansion of our shared governance here on campus. In a conversation with the Faculty Affairs Committee meeting, President Junn said something that is so true, but it was such a simple statement that it will stick with me for a long time. And she made the point that shared governance is really about problem solving. And we've had many problems to solve in the last few months. But we continue to talk to each other and work on those problems. And I think that's the highest testament to the health of our shared governance. Thank you. Sorry about that long answer.
Oh, that was great. There's a follow-up question to that. And
okay.
What inspires you these days?
Well, I guess those two questions are very much connected if you think about it. Something that I noticed when I came to visit the campus 4 years ago was the way that faculty and staff, administrators, and students work together with each other, have a deep commitment to each other as human beings and to the institution and to the region where we reside. And I have seen that commitment demonstrated over and over and over again, especially again in the days since we left campus because of the virus. We've had small problems to figure out, we've had large problems to figure out, but people show up. Students, faculty, staff, administrators show up and talk to each other and work really hard to resolve those problems. And it never ceases to inspire me.
Thank you. This next question, I believe, is for President Junn as well as Vice President Christine James. Can you update us on what changes have occurred within university police in response to concerns raised about racial injustice issues and policing? What are we doing on and off campus to address concerns with police actions?
Thank you, Rosalie. So I want to start off by saying that we're going to put forward a brand new campus advisory board, an advisory board that reports directly to my office as president. That's a campus advisory board on university policing and community safety. And what's very interesting is that this proposal for a board that oversees and provides information about and assesses the policing on campus is one that came to me from our own chief of police, Clint. And so Clint actually is one of 3 elected chiefs of police in the system that meets with the chancellor's office. So he's on the Council of Chiefs, and he and the chancellor's office have been reviewing some national recommendations that were created under the Obama administration for policing in the 21st century. And so this was one of the recommendations, and he brought forward a draft copy of an advisory board. And I took the time to also check what other campuses have this. So it turns out the UC system, the Board of Regents for the UC back in 2019, just a year ago, mandated that all UC campuses enact their own advisory boards. And that has been started actually back in 2017 when students protested, I think, at Berkeley. So we are following a similar model, and I believe we're one of the first 2 or 3 CSU campuses to begin to do this. So that proposal has been reviewed and edited by multiple people all across campus, from Senate to students to different clubs and organizations. And so we're going to be ready to start populating that group. So it has quite a few members. There's 23 members that sit on this board, and everything from, you know, individual departments to the Black Student Unions to the Warrior Cross Cultural Center, Black faculty and staff, et cetera, staff members. The Turlock City Manager will also sit on it, and so on and so forth. So if you want to see this new document, I don't know, Christine, if you've posted it yet on the website.
I think there was still a few changes, so I don't think it's been posted yet.
Okay, so Naisha will be posting it. Naisha will be the lead chair of this committee, and it will be posted probably on 2 places, both the PCDI webpage, as well as the Business and Finance Vice President Christine James website. So you can find it probably in the next, I would say, probably even by Wednesday when we meet with PCDI, because it'll be unveiled in its final form on Wednesday. And that's just one of many different things that the police department is reviewing for more action steps. There's more work that they're doing in community engagement, student engagement, and so on. So all of those things will come forward probably in the next month or so, because before the end of the semester, so people can get up to date on all the things that our UPD is doing. But I can say that overall, from the different groups I've been meeting with, there's been very positive reception to the notion of having the UPD more clearly, reviewed, or more information coming forward about our university police. And we're very fortunate. Our campus has strong relationships already between our UPD, our officers, their philosophy, and our student groups. So this is just another step in a positive direction. And CJ, did you want to add more on that score?
I think you covered it, but I do want to thank you, and in particular Chief Strode with his work with the system, and the other chiefs to put forward policy changes to be at the forefront of community policing and working with our whole populations on our campus. It really has been a joy to be part of helping President Junn and to get this going forward, and I can't wait to see it getting started, and everyone being involved. That it grew from I think we started with 12 people, and now it's 22 or 23.
Yeah,
but I think it's really it's really important that we have a good representation on the council, and that we really hear everyone's feedback. So thank you.
Yeah, and by the way, this board will meet regularly throughout the year, but they will also be charged to write an annual report. And the annual report will be available, I think, what did we say, in the spring, so that people can review it in time for the next year to see what's going on. And again, with people with suggestions or concerns or issues, they can always go to this board for more answers and action steps. So it will be a more transparent way for everyone to have access to the information on university policing. So thanks again for that question, Rosalie.
Great question. The next question is for Vice President for Advancement, Michelle Lottie. Thank you so much for sharing the wonderful news about our Student Emergency Fund created by our CFA. The question is, can employees have automatic payroll deduction for giving purposes?
You remember when Ellen was inaugurated and Controller Betty Yee was one of her speakers. She's still the controller and she's still the one that controls payroll deduction for us. And we're building a list of 50 employees. We have to have a minimum of 50 to qualify for payroll deductions. So if you're not on the list and you want to be, reach out to University Advancement. We had it at one time, and we actually called her office and she let us carry it for a while, but we eventually were dropped. So it is available. And you can also donate outside of your payroll deduction monthly, but we'd really like to get started again. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, and this is true. I mean, most CSUs have an automatic payroll deduction, and you can check many, many boxes of do you want to donate money to students or to your department or to some other fund. And this was something that I wanted to see happen on our campus because it's a lot easier to say, I'll donate $10 a month if you're a staff employee, or you could go as high as you want. But the problem was when the pandemic hit, it seemed hard to ask people to do a campaign to say, do you want a payroll deduction? Because many people are suffering. Other members of the family may have lost their jobs, or it's just harder economically. So we decided not to launch the payroll deduction piece right now, but it is something that we should consider for the future because it is so much easier when it just gets taken out of your paycheck, $20 here or whatever amount that you want, and that you'll be helping others in need, or your choice charity, whether it's department or etc. So that's something that we're definitely going to look into. It's called the IOU campaign on many other campuses, and so we're going to look into that after we get more settled from the pandemic. So thanks, Rosemary.
Great.
And
President Junn, I believe this question is for you, or it would be Provost Greer to elaborate with you on. What progress has been made on the strategic plan for the Stockton campus? Is there action on a new instructional building?
Mm-hmm. So yes, even with the pandemic, we are still moving forward, obviously, because we have done a lot in the 4.5 years that I've been here to structurally ensure that we are incrementally trying to support in a progressive way the students at Stockton. They are earning a degree, a Stan State degree, just like everyone else on the main campus. And so we want to make sure that we have the right supports there for students in Stockton. So that's why we have created the WOW program, Warriors on the Way, ensured that we have 6 majors now where students can know in advance which courses are coming every semester so they can graduate on time as transfer, et cetera, et cetera. So all that programming has been compiled, and we presented that to WASC, as well. And so it's continuing incrementally. And also we received, because with all this advocacy, I've been partnering very closely with the Chancellor's Office. So we have a Stockton Warrior team that incorporates both our highest leadership as well as the Chancellor's highest leadership. And as a result of all of those, intentional incremental plans and showing how we are being systematic and how we try to manage our resources, the Chancellor himself, outgoing Chancellor White, did allocate funding for our campus to support Stockton and over the next 4 years. So that amount is going to be significantly helping our budget line, even as we talk about the pandemic. And Kim can talk a little bit more about the other pieces, but obviously because Prop 13 failed, we did not get additional money from the voters to do deferred maintenance and capital outlay. So as a result, the initial plans, remember the beautiful architectural renderings that we had drawn up for a brand new building, a 3-story state-of-the-art building in Stockton, that's on pause for now because no buildings of that kind are going to be possible because of the budget right now. So we are looking at alternatives about building a much smaller, scaled back, just a classroom building that can help with some of our needs for instructional space that has good Wi-Fi, et cetera. So we have a staged plan for that. And we are also talking with faculty about creating a new kind of a center that's has its origins with our Center for Public Policy Research. That focuses in on Stockton and how we can assist with research that will assist Stockton and the urban needs there. So that's in the works right now as we speak. So there are exciting things that are occurring, continue to occur even with the downturn in the state revenue and with the pandemic. But we're very hopeful that we can continue to support our Stockton students without hurting the budget for the main campus. So those are all very good questions, and we are working very diligently on that. So Kim, you want to add anything more to that? Please do.
I think you covered it comprehensively. I would just add kind of to the specific of the question. After our WASC visit, we created a working plan of specific items and that we wanted to achieve, things we wanted to work on over the course of 2 years at the Stockton campus. And so we have been working diligently around that work plan, primarily focused on academic and student support at the Stockton campus. There is the Graduation Initiative committee has a work group, a Stockton work group, which is a cross-divisional group from SPIMI, Student Affairs, and Academic Affairs, all working very closely to make sure that we're accomplishing the task we gave ourselves to do at the Stockton campus. And then the only other thing, which is a good news item that I don't think that you mentioned, Ellen, and this is really falls more in Christine Erickson's area, but I believe that Project Rebound, which was started on our campus here in Turlock last year, is being expanded to the Stockton area, and the Student Affairs team recently was granted membership into the Project Rebound Consortium and received a grant to continue to fund the services. Is that correct, Christine? Did I get any of that wrong that you would correct? So, to Ellen's point, yes, a lot of things going on at the Stockton campus, and then we continue to update our own strategic plan goals with achievements that are occurring at the Stockton campus. Thank you.
Christine, would you like to add to that?
Kim did a great job summarizing. The only thing I would add is that we're currently recruiting for a coordinator to be based at the Stockton campus.
Thank you. Our next question. Since many of us have adapted to the virtual environment and found it very conducive to our work, will there be any consideration for those staff members who might prefer to continue working virtually? Any conversation toward that end? I believe, Julie, that is a question for you.
Hi, yes. So over the past few months, obviously we've had the temp telecommute agreements, which are available and are still accessible through the COVID-19 website. If somebody is already not on a telecommute agreement, that is still available, and for employees and student assistant employees as well. Going forward, the Chancellor's Office has taken up the request from the campuses to create a general telecommute agreement, and that one should be available hopefully by next fall. But that agreement would be something that either a manager or a staff member could present to discuss the options for best arrangements for getting the work done, taking into consideration that in fall, our schools may still not be back to a regular full-time schedule, but the hope is that there will be a more robust general telecommute agreement from the CO by fall.
Good information to know. President Junn, this question is for you. As we can see with Trump, he is very vindictive about funds going to California. He did deny funds going to Northern California wildfire victims. If he intends to Are you going to make plans with Governor Newsom and the CSU Board of Trustees to ensure funds meant for students are protected?
So thank you for the question. Basically, the issue of funds available for students is something that's not just at the state level, it really is at the congressional level. So as you know, Congress is going to return after the election to try and craft a bipartisan bill to support all, not just students, but all citizens in across the nation. And so that bill will be going forward. So I've been working closely with our congressional representative, Josh Harder, as well as with, certainly the system office and the state legislature, because the bills that will come forward out of Congress would primarily be funneled to states through the governor's office. The first set of bills that came forward earlier this spring came directly to the campuses. So it's not clear yet how much money or which sources of money that those will come forward on. But that is really being controlled by Congress, as you know. And so that is a complicated process, but we're very much working very closely and will absolutely be strong advocates for getting that funding to our students and those who are in most need. So good question, thank you.
Thank you. Will an early exit program be implemented to help address budget reductions?
Mm-hmm. So early exit program refers to the program that was first initiated at Humboldt State. And Humboldt, as many of you know, have suffered declining enrollments for the last 4 years or so or more. And so they actually had more staff than they had work available because the numbers had been going down. And as a result, that campus offered the opportunity for staff, if they wanted to consider an early retirement or early exit, actually, they could take advantage of that. And so that was a program that was piloted at Humboldt. And since then, other campuses are also utilizing it. We happen to be one of the lucky campuses with our, good budgeting forecasts and plans. We have not had to lay off permanent employees. And so that has made it easier for us not to have to go into that route. But I will say that we are getting reports at the state level that the budget forecast for next year is still not going to be better than this current year. And because this current year, remember, the pandemic happened in March. And so we had from July up until March in regular pre-COVID revenue times. And this is now going to be, for next year, it's the full year being in COVID. And while different parts of the state are starting to come out and moving into even the yellow phase for public health, we're still not there yet. And so as a consequence, it's possible that the budget cuts for this next year may be slightly worse than what we had suffered this year. This year, as you know, we had a 10% shortfall in the state budgeting to the CSU. It may go up from that for next year. So if that's the case, then these are things that are all tools that I've already charged our CFO, Christine James, to start looking at. So what else can we put in our toolkit to try and avoid larger kinds of staffing layoffs, et cetera. So it is a possibility, but we will know more, obviously, as we get closer to the budgeting forecast, which won't happen until May for the final May revise of the budget for next year. So again, we're being very watchful of all of this and taking into account all the different variables as they evolve. So thank you.
Thank you. We have about 5 minutes remaining, and I want to ask the last 4 questions that I see here. The next question is for Vice President Erickson. I am a transfer student and also a veteran. As a veteran, I have not been made to feel welcome by the veteran rep. I ended up buying my books twice, once through Amazon and once through the bookstore with the voucher for Chapter 31 Disabled Veterans. Is there anything that could be done to assist me since this is my first semester and I have no idea what I am supposed to do?
Is it okay if I jump in, Rosalie? Veterans Affairs falls in my area. So yes, I am so sorry to see this message. And I am not sure what happened, but let me take it upon myself to make sure that I connect you with Chicago, who is our veterans coordinator. And I've actually copied your name and your message, and hope to hear from him soon. He is very responsive, but I don't know what happened, so I hope to fix it.
Thank you, Vice President Cole, for answering that. I have a follow-up question for you. When will campus offices be open? It is extremely difficult to resolve issues with departments such as financial aid or to apply for graduation without face-to-face interactions. And I do believe that the offices are all open on limited time. So could you share that, please?
Oh, you're muted, Katanji.
They are open. Our availability is posted on the website. If you go to our website, you can see the names of individuals and when they are there physically and also virtually. So it is possible to connect with them really at any time. They get back to you within 24 hours or less.
Thank you. There's a follow-up question about Stockton. What are the current enrollment numbers in Stockton? I believe that's for Vice President Provost Greer. Sorry about that, Provost
Or
Greer.
actually, Katanji might have that data too.
Yeah, I was thinking of jumping in there as well. So when we think about Stockton enrollment, we often think about students that take just one class at Stockton, or at least one class, or those that take all their classes at Stockton. So Stockton headcount enrollment this year is 1,068, and that is a 44% increase over last year's enrollment, which was 737 students. Of course, we're in a virtual setting, and so that has a big impact on those numbers. The other important number to notice is the Stockton only headcount, and that is down. So that was about 135 students last fall and is about 58 this fall. So overall they're up, but the modality in which we're offering our courses is making a difference.
Thank you. And I would like to make this last comment our last question, which is a great comment to end on. Elena Cook, I hope I said your name correctly, said, I am so amazed by the number of initiatives on campus for outreach and student support. Thank you to those who are devoting time and talent to dream up and or sustain such programs. So thank you for sharing that comment with me. President Junn, would you like to wrap up today's discussion?
Yes, I just want to thank everyone again for joining us. We'll have another one of these town halls in the spring. Obviously, we'll have the spring welcome, which is the cabinet will be presenting all of the even more initiatives. So Milena, if you thought this was a lot, wait till January, because each vice president will get a chance to share what's going on in their divisions, both accomplishments and new initiatives or actions. So that should be a really fun event to come to. And I just want to say that in the spring, we'll also try and launch another series that talks about thinking about the future. And instead of bemoaning the current and the past and worrying about coping reactively to the pandemic, we're going to take the higher road and think positively in new ways about what this campus has been doing quietly all along that continues to give us hope and inspiration and greater opportunities for our future above and beyond the pandemic. And that's the real story of resilience, our Central Valley grit and our warrior spirit. So that will be coming in the spring to help keep your spirits lifted as we continue to move through these challenging times. And again, want to say thank you to everyone for all of your support and for staying connected with us. And please feel free to join my Feel Good Fridays. Those are open, at least one or two of them are open every month to join in just to see how people are doing on a more informal, kind of a fun level. So again, thank you for everything. If you have any other questions, don't hesitate to send us emails because we are all working very hard on a lot of Zoom meetings every day, but we are also very attuned to emails and want to answer your questions. So if you didn't get your question in today, fear not, send us email and we'll get back to you. Okay. So thank you, Rosalie, and please close us out.
Thank you for joining us for this town hall. Please, again, as President Junn stated, send forth any questions you have via email. You can send them to cpa@csustanstate.edu, or you can send them directly to any one of us. Thank you to all of our panelists and everyone who submitted a question and everyone who participated and watched. Stay safe and go Warriors.
And don't forget to vote. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.